action, I throw a rear front kick, but instead of pulling my leg back into my stance, I drop my foot down to the mat. This allows me to close some of the distance between my opponent and me. Next, I circle my left leg around the front of my opponent and throw a hook kick into the side of his head. To finish, I throw a cross to his face. The technique I'm showing now is not very known because it is primarily used in karate. To begin, I trap my opponent's lead arm and drive it into his body, disrupting his balance. Next, I throw a right cross, but instead of punching him in the face, I shoot my hand to the side of his head. Still controlling his left arm with my right hand, I step my right leg behind his legs. To execute the takedown, all I have to do is drive into him with my right arm.
Mais rápido.
This technique works best when your opponent's lead leg is lined up with your lead leg. It makes the takedown a lot easier to manage.
Devagar.
Notice how my left foot is right in front of his left foot. This is the positioning that you want to assume because it makes it a lot easier to step behind his legs. Now I show a method for taking your opponent down. First, I throw a lead low kick toward the inside of my opponent's lead leg. My intentions aren't to land the kick, but rather to get my opponent to lift his leg to block the kick. The instant he does this, I hook my lead hand around the inside of his lead leg, place my rear hand on his shoulder, step behind him, and push him backward over my leg. By placing my hands in the right spot and pushing him backward, I trip him over my leg.
Mais uma vez devagar. Essa mão vai na altura do peito.
This is another takedown. Just as with the last technique, I fake with the low kick to the inside of my opponent's lead leg. This causes him to elevate his lead leg in order to block my kick. As he blocks, I drop my lead foot to the mat, pivot on my lead leg, and then kick his grounded leg out from underneath him using my rear leg. Notice how as I kick his leg, I also use my lead arm to help push him backward. Fake the kick, enter, and then kick his leg. In this technique, I throw a rear round kick toward my opponent's head, causing him to lean back to avoid it. Instead of following through with the kick, I plant my rear foot behind my opponent's lead leg. At the same time, I place my rear hand on his chest. To trip him over my lead leg, all I have to do is push on his chest.
Derrubando. Eu faço que vou chutar aqui. Eu faço que vou chutar aqui. Mais uma vez devagar, mostrando. Eu faço que vou chutar e entro. Um pouco mais rápido.
In this situation, my opponent and me are in opposite stances. To get the takedown, I sweep his lead leg using my rear leg. However, I first have to set up the technique. I accomplish this by throwing a cross, which disrupts his base. Immediately after landing the cross, I place my hand on his neck and hook my rear leg around his lead leg. To get the takedown, all I have to do is sweep his leg out from underneath him. It is important to notice that upon throwing the cross, I control his lead arm with my lead arm. This allows me to land the cross clean, as well as prevents him from throwing a counter strike.